Alright, in this video, I'm going to show you how to find reference angles. So before we start finding and identifying what reference angles are, let's first learn how to graph an angle on a coordinate plane. So an angle on the coordinate plane has two sides. It has an initial side, in other words, where the angle starts, and has a terminal side where the angle terminates, in other words, where the angle ends. So let's graph the following. Let's start with graphing 0 degrees. So to graph an angle, you always start at the positive x-axis. So here is our initial side. We always start angles right here. And if the angle is positive, we rotate counterclockwise. So notice that it is 0 degrees. Therefore, we do not move no degrees at all. So that initial side is also your terminal side since it's 0 degrees. Now let's graph 180 degrees. So again, always start at the initial, which is the positive x-axis. It's positive 180, so we're going to move counterclockwise. So 90, 180, it's right here. So here's our terminal side. And I'm sure you remember from geometry class, every single quadrant is 90 degrees. Now let's graph 275 degrees. So the initial side is always here on the positive x-axis. It's positive, so we're going to go counterclockwise. 90, 180, 270, we need 5 more degrees, so it is right here. Now let's graph negative 185 degrees. So notice that this angle is negative, so we're going to go in the opposite direction, which is clockwise. So we start in the exact same spot. So here's our initial side where the angle starts. Since it's negative, let's go clockwise. So now this is negative 90, negative 180. We need 5 more degrees, so somewhere right here. That's negative 185 degrees in the second quadrant. Let's graph negative 360 degrees. So again, start at the initial, which is always here. It's negative, so we're going to go clockwise. Negative 90, negative 180, negative 270. So negative 360 is right back here. So the initial, again, is also your terminal on this problem. Now let's graph 720 degrees. It's positive, so we're going to go counterclockwise. 90, 180, 270, 360. So notice that 720 is basically 2 full revolutions. So in this problem again, the initial side is also our terminal side. Now let's identify what a reference angle is. A reference angle is an angle between the terminal side of an angle and the closest x-axis to where it ends. And all of these angles will be acute since they will always be less than 90 degrees. So for example 1, let's find the reference angle for 55 degrees. So let's always start by graphing the angle. So let's start graphing 55 degrees. Here is the initial side. It's positive, we're going to go counterclockwise. 55 degrees is around there. So let's go back to the definition. So a reference angle is the angle between the terminal side, which is this right here, and the closest x-axis. So as you can see, the yellow line is the terminal side. The closest x-axis is this one here. So this is the angle that we are trying to find. And notice that we just graphed that angle. That angle is 55 degrees. In other words, if your angle lies in the first quadrant, which 55 did, your reference angle will be exactly the same. Now, the next one is 110 degrees. So let's graph it. Start at the positive x-axis, which will always be your initial side. 110 degrees, it's positive. We're going to move counterclockwise. That's 90. We need 20 more. So this right here is 110 degrees. So let's go back to the definition. We are trying to find the reference angle, which is the angle between the terminal side, which is this right here, and the closest x-axis. So now for this problem, the closest x-axis is this one right here. So we're trying to find this pink angle, or reference angle. So to get it, you do 180 degrees minus 110, and you get 70. So our reference angle, or our pink angle there, is 70 degrees. Now 230 degrees. So let's graph it, always in the same spot for the initial. That's 90, 180. If I touch the y-axis again, that's 270, so that's too much. So I have to stop before I hit 270. Now let's fill in the angle that we're trying to find. So let's label our reference angle. The angle between the terminal side of the angle and the closest x-axis. So the terminal side of the angle is this one here. The closest x-axis is this one. So we're trying to find this angle right here. So to get it, you're going to do 230 degrees minus 180 degrees. So again, here's why. Initially, we graphed 230 degrees and it was this angle here. But if we subtract 180 degrees, which is this pink part, you get the reference angle that we're trying to find. So 230 minus 180 is 50 degrees. So that is our reference angle. For example 4, we're trying to find the reference angle for 345 degrees. So start graphing the angle on the initial side. We're moving counterclockwise. 90, 180, 270. So 345 is right here. Let's graph our reference angle. So remember, it's from the terminal side to the closest x-axis, which is the positive x-axis in this problem. So this angle right here. So as you can see, the reference angle is the pink angle. So we're going to do 360 because we almost made a full revolution, minus 345 wherever we stopped, and that right there is 15 degrees. So our reference angle for example 4 is 15 degrees. So go ahead and find the reference angle for the following problems. Pause the video and then come back after you have solved them. So for example number 1, you always start by graphing the angle. So 145 degrees, that will land you in the second quadrant. So the reference angle is the angle from the terminal side to the closest x-axis, which is this one. So the reference angle is the one in yellow. So to find it, you're going to do 180 minus 145, and that is 35 degrees. For example 2, negative 330 degrees. It's negative, so we're going to go clockwise. Start at the initial side, which is always here, and we are graphing negative 330. So negative 90, negative 180, negative 270. You were about to make one full revolution, so negative 330. So let's graph our reference angle. Our reference angle is from the terminal side to the closest x-axis, which is this one here. So we're trying to find this pink angle here. So it's basically the remaining part to make one full revolution. So to find it, you do 360 minus 330, and you get 30 degrees. So our reference angle was 30 degrees. Now for example 3, let's graph 372. So start with the initial side. It's positive, so counterclockwise. 90, 180, 270, 360. So I need 12 more degrees. Now the reference angle, let's draw it. Our angle terminated here. The closest x-axis is this one here. So this is the angle we're trying to find. So we're going to do 372 minus the full revolution, and you get 12 degrees. So our reference angle is 12 degrees there. So this is the end of the lesson. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe down below.